Hi, welcome to an adventure in space and time history. Here I have on the line a fellow Whovian from UK, Jon Coogan. Welcome, Jon.
Hi, Michelle. Thanks for having me on your channel.
Yeah, I would like to ask you some questions about Doctor Who.
Yeah, by all means, go for
Yeah,
it.
since we have so much negativity, I thought, maybe lighten some things up. Uh, One of the questions, do you feel that New Who picked up where Classic Who ended?
Sorry, you're a bit wobbly there, but do I think that you knew who continued where Classic Who ended?
Yeah, did it pick up where Classic Who ended?
Well, not really. If you look at how Classic Who ended, it ended literally with Ace and Sylvester McCoy walking off down a country path, really. And that was the end of it till 1989. If you take into account, which is a debatable thing. I personally don't think it's canon, but if you bring that in as well, it introduced Paul McGann, but it didn't do very much really to link up with New Who. New Who was completely different. It gives a different Doctor. It gives a whole time war. There had been so much that had happened between the TV movie with Paul McGann and Christopher Eccleston coming back in the 2005 reboot. So, does it continue? No, I would say no on that point. What do you think?
Um, I could see that it picked up where that left off, but that's what I think and feel. But like I could see your point that New Who's totally different from the Classic Who, and then the way Classic Who ended, just dropped off, and then bringing it back, New Who making it totally different from the way Classic Who is. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but the thing you've got to remember, Michelle, about Classic Who is when Classic Who stopped, Classic Who wasn't supposed to stop. It didn't actually end, or wasn't supposed to end. The series ended and they took a break from making it for a couple of years. It was stretched out till what? Till 16 years. So it didn't actually it didn't tie up the ends of Classic Who. It just ended like any other serial. And there's been so much happened in between, really. I'm not saying the 2005 reboot is bad, but it introduces lots and lots and lots of things that weren't actually in Classic Who. So did it carry on? Not really. There's not much of a bridge.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, because I started with the New Who and then went back to watch the classic, and I can see your point on that because New Who is totally different from the way the classic Who,
Completely, yeah.
and but it's just so much different. Still the same concept, but it's just a different way of doing, Doctor Who. It's more of like a um mind blank there for a second.
No,
Uh,
that's what I was just about to say was one of the major differences between Classic Who and New Who is that, well, apart from occasional exceptions, most are one-part stories, 1 hour long.
oh
Classic
yeah,
Who, which was made completely different, and in lots of ways a more enjoyable thing to watch.
oh yeah. Now I can now. Yeah, okay. Now you got me. Is in classic you had like maybe 4 episodes of the same storyline, but you have one
Oh, yeah.
part, about 4 parts, but they were 4 different episodes of the same thing. Whereas in New Who, it's like all done in one shot, all done in one episode.
Well, they do occasionally have two-parters, like Last of the Time Lords, The End of Time, Cold Blood, things like that. They do occasionally have two-parters, but it's generally all done in one go. But I think that's more to do with the fact that TV now is very, very different.
Yeah,
Back when Classic Who was on, in the UK, there was only 3 channels. The 4th channel came along in the 1980s. So there wasn't a choice. And people are more fickle. And they don't follow things the way they used to. So I think that's why it was. I quite liked it because you had a week of anticipation and a week of excitement to find out what was going on now. These days, it's all done in one go. So I prefer the old ways, but the modern ways is all in one go. So why not?
Yeah, I when I went back to watch the Classic Who, where it would be like 4 parts, 4 different episodes, but the same, the same storyline. I liked it because I wish it was done like that with the New Who, because it's like you watch the first part and then it's like it leaves you hanging and you're not sure what's going to happen next. You have to wait to the next, like, okay, Saturday you have to go, Monday you have to go about 5 days until the next part episode of the same story. You're like sitting on the edge of your seat and you're like wondering, okay, what's going to happen next? What it makes an anticipation. And when I went back to watch Classic Who, I like that way of, and I wish New Who did the same thing. But like I said, a lot of people's attention spans, they rather have it all in one go. They don't like, the excitement.
They don't like sort of building it up. But the thing I liked about Classic Who that I dislike about New Who seems very rushed. It seems they really sort of rushed and pushed the story through. Whereas he had 4 episodes, the War Games had 12 episodes. A lot of John Pertwee was 6, 7-part episodes, and essentially you could build up a storyline over the space of 6, 7, 8 weeks, 10 weeks sometimes. Now everything's done in 1 hour.
Yeah,
it's not good in my opinion, but I like Classic Who.
The one thing I've watched in Classic Who and is that the stories were good, but the regenerations weren't all back in that era. They didn't have what they have now for New Who. The regenerations were
completely different.
Yeah, regenerations were a little rickety, but then when you watch New Who, the regenerations are more, more exciting, spontaneous type thing. It shows you, it just, but back then they didn't have the technology that New Who does. And I like, but then when you watch the regenerations, even though they're rickety, they're still good. Just gives you, it just shows you.
Sorry, I was going to say, I don't want to sound like Grandad Moses, but when Doctor Who was cancelled in 1989, people didn't have PCs and people didn't have mobile phones.
Mm-hmm.
The BBC had technology, but they weren't even as good as a laptop you're recording on now, so they were a bit hokey, I must admit, but they were, as you said, they were better stories. They look much more slick now, though, don't they?
I also have another question. What are your favorite doctors from Classic Who and New Who? I mean, what doctors were the ones that you liked in the classic Doctor Who era, and then the favorite ones that you like in the new Doctor Who era?
Okay, well, Classic Who gives me quite a lot to play with, but New Who doesn't. So I'm just going to cough Michelle 1 second. Pardon me. Okay, Classic Who. If I pick 2 for me, the first one would be the first Doctor I ever saw was John Pertwee. He was pretty good. A man of action, charming, debonair, a scientist. Took no prisoners. He was a great Doctor Who, basically. Only beaten by my second choice, who's Tom Baker, who is the definitive Time Lord. The performance that he gave, the way he attacked the role, the stories he was given as well. He was quite lucky as well, Tom Baker, but he's also given really, really, really good stories by Hinchcliffe and Holmes. So they'd be my sort of favourite two from the classic era, I would almost say. What about yourself? Classic era.
Classic era, John Pertwee. I mean, like, to me, it's like almost like a James Bond Doctor Who.
Yeah,
very, very, very cunning. You know, he does dabble a little bit in scientific type stuff, but he focused more on the excitement. The part I find funny in one of his episodes is where he was trying to get the TARDIS to work, even though the Time Lords, marooned him on Earth. And also, next thing you know, is you hear a noise and the door opens up and all the smoke comes out. He was trying to.
There's a lot of humor in Jon Pertwee. He was a comedian.
Yeah, he also played a maid, and he was trying to do the maid's voice. It was kind of interesting because it shows you a side. Tom Baker, he had such an energy, but at first it took me a while to get used to him. But he ended up growing on me. One of the episodes I liked was his first episode, Robot.
Yeah.
Where he's jump roping with them. He says, "You may be a doctor, but I am the doctor, the general article, you may say." And that was really funny because he was trying to prove that the person, I forget who I forget his name, who was watching over and taking care of him.
Harry Sullivan.
Yes, Harry Sullivan. It was really funny because they were jumping rope, and he was trying to show how fit he was. And then another part is he was coming out with different costumes, and it was like really funny because you should see the brigadier's face, and then he puts his head down, looks right back into TARDIS, until he came out with this long scarf. And the history of the scarf is they wanted a scarf, so they took all this yarn to a woman who knows how to knit. Yeah. They didn't tell her how much, how long the scarf they wanted it to be. They went back and she used all the yarn. She knitted a real long scarf. No wonder he had to wrap it around him like 2 or 3 times because he'll trip on it.
I haven't heard of that, but it makes sense. It's a very, very long scarf.
Yeah, but it fit his character, even though this woman used all the yarn. He used it. And in one of the episodes, it burned the scarf. He says, "Oh, it burned my scarf. It burned my scarf." And he made a comment. Yeah, he made a comment about that once. It just, he was comical, but yet he had such an energy, He just.
The thing about that scarf as well, Michelle, is because of the length of it, he could use it for things. He could tie it to stuff, couldn't he?
Yeah,
he could make a out of it and things like that. It came in handy, that long scarf. You've got to remember that. So it's good.
Yeah, and another doctor is the first Dr. William Hartnell who started it all. I mean, he came across a little grumpy at the start, but then as his episodes went along, you could see his sense of humor, and I loved the way he laughed. He just had that whimsical laugh about him. That's the ones I like from classic Doctor Who.
It was pretty good. William Hartnell, when he started in the role, it wasn't. No one could have thought it would turn into what it was going to become today.
Yeah.
He played a sort of classical role. He did it like that, but he did get a lot more human, for want of a better expression, as the 3 seasons went on. He got more cheerful. Not that cheerful, but quite cheerful.
Yeah.
It was the man that started it all.
Whenever Patrick Troughton came in, he whenever he was met with Sidney Newman, and he found out who his replacement is, and he found out it was Patrick Troughton, and he said that's a good choice. And what's said is that the Patrick Troughton that came after William Hartnell, everybody who came after William Hartnell, the first Doctor, had a very big shoes to fill.
Yeah.
Because he was the one that was the first one who started the whole thing. It's kind of like I saw a picture here, and it was Matt Smith saying, and it's all these pictures. It's like Matt Smith says, to William Hartnell, and you see the next picture says, "Yes, my boy, thanks for getting this party started." Yeah. It's like Matt Smith is saying, "Thanks for William Hartnell for getting the party started as the first Doctor." So I wanted to throw that one out there because I thought that was neat.
It's strange you should have mentioned sort of Hartnell this week, because talking about my favorite Doctors from New Who, I find William Hartnell to be very similar in lots of ways to Peter Capaldi.
I agree with you on that one. I do.
The way they dress is probably the most sort of obvious. So obviously with older men with grey hair, a bit like myself. And essentially, they're very similar in lots of ways. They were both grumpy. They were both outspoken, but also caring people who would do anything for anyone. So I would say Capaldi's a bit more heroic than William Hartnell. William Hartnell could be quite moody. But I think they're very, very similar. I loved Peter Capaldi. I thought he was fantastic. I thought what the BBC did to him was a terrible, terrible thing.
Oh, yeah. I agree with you on that one. Any Doctors in New Who?
Well, Capaldi, of course. I did like Capaldi. I thought he was pretty good. One of my most favourites episodes from New Who would probably be Mummy on the Orient Express.
Oh yeah, I like that. That was really good.
It was a bit of a hokey sort of story, but it was very fun and very entertaining.
Oh yeah.
And the mummy looked fantastic, and the whole concept was fantastic. Was he at 14 seconds? He reckoned, or 14 or 18 seconds. Mummy got to you. Do you remember that? That was fantastic.
Yeah, you had so much time. And the person, you couldn't see the mummy, but the person who was close to death was the one who seen it.
Yeah.
And what it was basically a soldier. And how Peter Capaldi told him, what he said to this mummy who was a soldier. I think it was but the interesting part about the episode, Claire Oswald was really pissed off at the 12th Doctor. Yeah, she was really ticked off with him, and she agreed to go to in the movie to go to this spaceship train called the Orient Express, and you could tell them you could tell a little bit of attention, but after a while. They kind of warmed up a bit, but she reluctantly, okay, let's do this one last time, and you could tell a little bit of tension, and then they started getting comfortable, basically, and that was a good episode. I do agree with that.
Yeah, well, probably the worst thing about the Capaldi episodes were Clara Oswald. I thought she was a pain in the backside. A nice girl, a very pretty girl, that started off quite nice, quite interesting. Then became this almost like a nagging daughter to Peter Capaldi. And I found it was a bit much. She was very rude to him, which I thought was quite inappropriate. I suppose it reflects the politics of our time, shall we say. But I must say, I didn't like Clara. I'm glad when she died. horrible thing to say, but I'm quite glad when she died because she annoyed me. Bill, I thought, was also very annoying, but for different ways. She was just crap. But yeah, so I did like Paulie. Knew who as well. The other one I would go for, of course, be Tennant. Tennant was very, very good. He took the show and took it to the, he made it extremely popular over here, and I see him the other side of the water over there. What do you think?
Um, David Tennant had a lot of good episodes, but then he had a lot of not so good episodes. Uh, the one episode that I didn't like he did were was it Love and Monsters? I thought that was a little wonky.
It, well, what's the best? I'm trying to choose my words carefully here. Love and Monster to me is very much like Blink. Now, it's not as good as Blink, because Blink is a classic. Love and Monsters had the Absorbaloff, that really sort of crap Peter
I
Kay character, who was rubbish, and he was just a joke, to be honest. But the thing about Love and Monsters was, pardon me, because like Blink, the Doctor wasn't the central character in it. I quite liked it because of that. I
yeah.
thought it was quite good. The London Detective Agency. I enjoyed that. I thought it was Pig Elton's name.
Um, but my favorite episodes that liked of David Tennant. I mean, there's a lot of them, but the one that sticks out the most is the end of time. His last era, that two-parter, that right there. And whenever he was in the TARDIS and he says, "I don't want to go," that even though that was only, not like one of the long regeneration speeches like the other doctors, to me that was just plain and it was just simple and it gutted me. It just like, you know, yanked me from the heartstrings.
Well, I don't know. You see, okay, it's a good episode, yeah, but I've got some issues with that, okay? First of all, basically, whenever he released Wilfred from the capsule, yeah, and exposed himself to that radiation, he knew he was dying, yeah?
Yeah, he took all that regeneration, he took all the radiation. And what's really weird is when the door, he says, "Now it opens." I thought that was a little funny there.
But what I didn't like about that was after he absorbed all that radiation and he knew he was going to die, essentially, they had the scene where he walked around saying goodbye to all these people. And I thought that was unnecessary. He went to go and see Captain Jack. He went to see Martha, who was now married to Mickey. They were chasing some Sontarans or something somewhere. He went back to Rose's estate, back up in time and sort of say goodbye to her. Remember that time he went back to the estate, it was raining. It was New Year's Eve, he went back.
Yeah.
Those were long, I thought, sort of drawn out scenes that weren't completely necessary. And I think because he didn't have much of a speech, I think that was his speech.
Yeah,
That was
because
his goodbye speech.
if
It
you
was companions.
if you look at it, he was going back to get his rewards. It was his way of those people that meant a lot to him. He wanted. I mean, take for instance, um, humans, and they know they're about ready to die. They want to say goodbye to those they love. So that's basically he cared a lot about his companions that he wanted to say goodbye before he regenerated. But what I really find interesting as he's walking back to the TARDIS, the Ood says, "Now we'll sing your song to your death." I thought that was kind of neat.
It was very atmospheric, wasn't it, that music, as he went in? There's a video on YouTube. My ringtone on my telephone is called This is Gallifrey, Our Childhood, Our Home by Murray Gold. And I've got that as my ringtone. But there's also a fan video, which is that. The song, which is called Veil Descend, which is the music that plays, he regenerates. The classical piece of music and the TARDIS regenerates itself. It's there as well, and it's a fantastic video. You should watch that. I'll send you the link for that, perhaps, But I thought it was pretty good. I quite liked it. If you think about David Tennant and what he did and what he sort of achieved with the show, he, in very many ways, was probably the most human of the Doctors, the most emotional, the one that showed most of his feelings. He wore his heart on his sleeve. And I suppose you're right in what you say. Humans want to go and see people before they die. The Doctor, to me, in classic Who, he never said goodbye to anyone, did he?
No, he never did. Yeah, but what's really interesting, we talk about romance, the Doctor having romance with his companions, and a lot of people don't like the idea of the Doctor having a romance with a companion, one of his companions. If you remember when John Pertwee was on the verge of being regenerated to Tom Baker, he mentions this, a tear, Sarah Jane, and also remember how, Jo Grant, when she got engaged to that guy, and John Pertwee, and John Pertwee took a glass of champagne, drank it, turned around, and just walked out the door because he was saddened that she did this. It got to him. So, in a sense, that's whether or not we don't want to accept that the Doctor could have a love interest or love one of his companions. If we look from if you look back in the classic Doctor Who, you could see that. It's subtle, and I believe it should be true. I mean, even though he's an alien, heck, he could still love a female companion. I mean,
but he might not have human bits. It's a bit weird. He shouldn't be kissing girls. The Doctor is above such things. He shouldn't have romantic interest. I think the only reason he has any interest in romance is because it was an American movie that was made in 1996. And because of the American-made movie, they made the Doctor have a love interest, which is spilled over, I think, into New Who. But I personally don't agree with it. I don't think it's the right thing at all.
I mean, I can see the companions falling for the Doctor. I mean, think about it. You want a man who's smart, who doesn't fight, who's thinks his way through a situation, a perfect gentleman. Who I mean.
Why didn't people fall for him in the classic series? Why didn't people fall for him then?
I don't. Maybe during that era they weren't. Yeah, that's true. Probably in that era they were not. They were thinking more differently.
The American movie. It was a movie of Paul McGann and Eric Roberts. That's what started it all off. But that's the modern world for you, Michelle.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm going to move on to the next one. Okay, what quote from the Doctor, either from the classic era or from the new Doctor Who era, that is special to you, that you has meaning?
Well, the Doctor says so many different things over the years, from sort of small, trivial things to quite big, profound things. There's so many. I always think myself that classic Who has the best lines, really. I think in New Who, a lot of lines are very sort of throwaway. They're also quite funny as well. It's was when Capaldi and I think it was Clara, they went somewhere. And someone asked Clara, was she hit? And Peter Capaldi says, no, she cares, so I don't have to. I think things like that are funny, but in terms of things that are meaningful and important, I suppose you would think back to Have you ever seen Planet of the Daleks? Have you?
Planet of the Daleks. Which doctor was
It's
that?
well, it's a poetry one. They crash on a planet, meet some Thals, beat the Daleks. You may not have seen it, but
I
there's one
may
of them.
I may have, but like I said, I've seen a lot of episodes of Classic Who, and when you haven't seen them for a while, you kind of
Forget them. Yeah.
not forget them, but it's just you know the gist of it, but it's kind of like a memory, and if someone talks about it, then it's oh yeah, I've seen that. It just sometimes it doesn't. The first, like you said, Planet of the Daleks, it just I mean, it's there. You have certain episodes that stick with you, but there's some episodes that don't.
Years of episodes, Michelle. We can't remember them all. I can't remember them all, certainly. But there was a quote in that really with this guy, this Val. He was panicky because he wasn't a soldier. He was stuck on this hostile planet with lots of Daleks, and John Pertwee was talking to him. And this guy was putting himself down, really. He said, I wish I could be as brave as him. I wish I could be as courageous as him. The doctor said to him that like, courage is a matter of not being frightened, Just being afraid and doing what you have to do anyway. Which is something that the army, the police, people that in society basically sort of tend to give a hard time, basically. That's the true meaning of courage, being afraid and doing it anyway. So that was quite a profound thing for me. In the new Doctor, I don't know. I can't really sort of think about like sort of silly quotes, but the obvious one's one from Blink, isn't it, Your life could depend on this. Don't blink, don't even blink, blink and you're dead. They're faster than you can believe. Don't turn your back, don't blink. Good luck. That was David Tennant on the screen. And that was quite good. Meaningful, I don't know, but Dr. Lewis full of good quotes. How about some of yours? You did a video on quotes, didn't you?
Yeah, but in classic Doctor Who, the one quote that I really love comes from William Hartnell, and when I was starting to watch the Five Doctors, there's just that one clip of that speech he did, and it's where he left Susan behind. And one day I'll be back. You must have no regrets, no tears, no anxieties. Just go forward with all your beliefs and prove to me that I'm not mistaken in mine. Okay, I hope I got that one right. That's the one. That's the one quote I love so much. That on my Facebook thing, whenever it gives you about and asks you like one of your favorite sayings, I have that down there because that's the one I love. It's so profound that one day I would come back. I would come back. There will be no regrets, no anxieties, no fears. Just go forward and on your beliefs and prove to me I'm not mistaken in mine. And it kind of it means something. It's like it just it just I mean it stuck with me. Now in New Who, there's so many of them, but the one and I can't remember. It was Vincent and the doctor when they went back to the museum. Just him and Amy Pond, and they went back, and she found out that Vincent killed himself, and she's like saying, we didn't really change anything. She was hoping that that he wouldn't kill himself. She was hoping it was going to be different. And when they come back and she was upset and the doctor saw that she was upset and he said, was it about the good things and the bad things?
I remember.
I thought
don't always spoke in the bad, but vice versa, the bad things don't necessarily spoke the good things. And that's important.
Yeah, I thought that was a really good quote because it really makes a point. So like the bad things don't soften, the good things and stuff like that. It's just saying bad things that happen are not going to take away from the good things, like the good things. You know, it just it just makes you look. It's like, oh, it's like if something goes wrong during your day and it spoils your day, but yet in your day something good happened, but all this bad stuff happened, but it just doesn't make what good happened during your day any less. It
Oh
doesn't
yeah,
take away from, and that's the one. That's the one I really like because he's, and it's also touching because he saw how it impacted Amy when she found out that Vincent did kill himself.
yeah,
And it showed that it's like, it's just sort of, and the doctor wanted to comfort her. And when he said that, it was his way of saying, hey, all these good things that, he did, it doesn't make, yes, bad things happen, but all this good that happened, it's not going to affect, the good that already happened,
oh yeah, completely, yeah,
so I mean, it just, that's the one thing I like from uh, a new Who. But also, I was going to mention in Classic Who, there's another one that I really thought, which is going to be discussed in one of the live chats. It's from Genesis of the Daleks. And
yeah,
it's where Tom Baker has these two wires. And
yeah.
if he touches them, he's going to destroy the Daleks. And he kept saying, do I have that right? He says, if I do this, I'm going to be just like them.
But that's a big, big philosophical question, though, is it?
Yeah,
Does the wrong make it right? Does the end justify the means? That's a big philosophical question, which I think what the writer was trying to say, Terence Dix, when he wrote that.
oh, and he also did the Five Doctors too, Terence Dix. But you also see that spill over in the New Who too. When it came to the Daleks, remember Stolen Earth?
Yeah.
It was episode of Turn Left, and then and where apparently the hand that was the doctor's hand that got cut off was in like this thing, and Donna Noble went like this to reach for it, and you hear the heart. She hears the heartbeat and everything, and where you get the doctor, but he's half human, half Time Lord, and at the end, uh, he destroyed the Daleks, and the 11th Doctor, when they went back to that parallel world with Rose, and she didn't want to, and she said, I did all this, and I finally found you. I don't want this. And he says something about, we prayed it with a price, and the human / Time Lord Doctor said, I just fulfilled prophecy. And
Yeah.
it kind of also, it kind of reminds you of Tom Baker saying, do I have that right? The doctor didn't like the,
Well,
go ahead.
I was going to say that, as you're saying about Tom Baker and the Wires, that's quite a profound philosophical question. Now, if you go back to the original intention of Doctor Who, was to be an educational program. Now, you can see it more overtly in William Hartnell and Patrick Troughton, basically. Baker, not Baker, Pertwee not as much. But when the Doctor has all these moral questions, it also poses a moral question to the viewer, really. As Tom Baker showed in that, really. If I do this, am I as bad as the people I'm trying to destroy? You could argue, they say, that the Americans dropping the A-bomb on Japan in the war was a really, really out of control thing. But think of the amount of lives that would have been lost, American lives, as they fought their way to Japan. So was it okay to do the horrible thing on the Japanese to save American lives, or was it the wrong thing to do?
Yeah,
I'm just using that as an example, not as an example. But do you understand what I mean, basically, you know?
yeah. That is kind of like Tom Baker hoeing the two wires there. Do I have that right?
Yeah, completely. So that's something. But when they do it in Yoo-Hoo as well, it poses moral questions, you know? What is right? Does the anticipated means? Is it worth it? Or are there alternatives, you know?
Yeah,
So
that.
it is.
Yeah, Doctor Who. There even with the new Who, you do have the history. There was an episode in David Tennant's era that was called "The Fires of Pompeii,"
Yeah.
and all of a sudden it's Volcano Day, and they're in the TARDIS, and Donna says, "Save someone, just someone," and she's crying. And in the doctor, when she mentioned all this and the fires and everything was going on, and the doctor says, if I could go back in time and save my planet, I will. Yeah, I would do that. What he was saying is like you can't change time. If you change time, then it's gonna be a ripple, you know. And then that's when she said, just save someone. And then she saved someone. And if you noticed,
He saved Peter Capaldi, didn't he?
yeah, and Peter Capaldi saying, where did I pick? Where did I pick this face? Where did I pick this face from? And he's looking, and then you see him, that flashback of David Tennant says, "Come with me," and then that's when he remembered where he got the face from. And I thought that was pretty cool because he was always questioning, where did this face come from?
I am on the other side of. I won't get into it now, Michelle, but I'm of the persuasion that regeneration is random.
Yeah.
I don't think that you can pick someone else's face.
Oh yeah, I mean yeah, but yeah, because if you look at Classic Who, where Peter Davison said, that's the funny thing about regeneration, you never know what you're going to end up with. If you look in Classic Who, and then whenever Christopher Eccleston was making that speech, say you won't see this that full face again. I may have one head, I may have two heads, I may be no head. Don't tell me that's not improvement. Basically, it's his way of saying, I don't know what I'm going to end up looking at, look wise. So he was even doing the same thing as with the classic. They can never choose what they look like. That I agree with that. That shouldn't have been.
This stems from the scene in the Tom Baker era where Romana regenerated and went through a few different bodies.
Oh yeah, she kept coming out. Yeah, she kept coming out of the door. And he says, "Too tall, too short."
Yeah.
And then the funny thing is, she came out dressed just like him with the hat and all that stuff. And then he I thought that one was funny there, But she kept.
People use that as justification for the Doctor being able to pick his face.
Yeah, I just thought it was funny. She was coming on, and he's like, too tall, too short, and all these things. And the funny part is when she came out, she just was wearing his outfit. It was her. She didn't look like, and he pulled up the hat, and you could see it was her.
And he ended up marrying that lady, didn't he, Tom Baker? He got married to Lala Ward, didn't he? So.
Oh, I think the doctor's
You know that?
married. I think the doctor's married a lot of women.
No, Tom Baker married that woman, though. Tom Baker did marry her in real life. Did you know that?
Oh, I didn't know that. You mean he
Yeah.
married the person who played Romana?
Yeah, this Romana Part 2, little one, Lala Ward. Lalla Ward. Yeah, they were
Oh,
married for 4 or 5 years, yeah.
whoa, that's surprising. Oh, talking about marriage, uh, David Tennant married Peter Davison's daughter, but the funny thing is how he met her was the episode The Doctor's Daughter.
Yeah.
And that's how he met her. And it's what's really weird is the fifth Doctor is the father-in-law to the 10th Doctor. The 10th Doctor is the son-in-law to the fifth Doctor.
Yeah.
Who met the Doctor's daughter, who met the Doctor's daughter, and now they have a daughter. Time travel's really screwed up.
They do, really. And it's really just, you've seen The Girl in the Fireplace, haven't you?
Oh yeah, I've seen The Girl in the Fireplace. I thought that was a good episode.
Madame Pompadour.
Oh, it was funny how he pulled the thing and he says, "I just kissed Madame Pompadour." I mean, just the way he said it was so funny,
He was very funny. That's the episode where he jumped through a mirror with a horse. Remember that?
Yeah, and then he says, "Well, I'm stuck," and then she takes his hand and leads him to her original room.
Yeah.
So he could.
Used to be in a relationship with that actress that played Madame Pompadour as well. He met her on the show.
Yeah, he dated her too. I've heard a few things. They call him the 10-inch, itch, because he's always.
No, this is a family podcast. Let's keep it clean. Right.
Yeah, keep it clean here. Well, anyway, basically we covered a lot, and I enjoyed this interview about the Doctor, and all the stuff with the new Who and in the classic Who. And
thanks for having your channel. It's really, really good of you. Thank you. I've seen most of your videos. Everyone sees it. Subscribe to Michelle's channel.
Well, thank you very much, and I thank you for your time. If you like what you heard and stuff like that, leave a comment, and also, if you like the video, click like. If you don't like, click on like or not like or whatever. Subscribe so you can get notifications of other videos that I do. I want to give a shout out to my friend Noel. He has a YouTube channel called The Tartar Zone, and then I have another online friend who has his own channel called Not My Doctor Who. Check their channels out. Don't forget to subscribe to theirs and watch their videos. So, I think...
They're both excellent channels, both fantastic channels. I recommend Noel's channel especially.
Yeah.
And Not My Doctor Who, fantastic channels. Like, share, and subscribe.
Yeah, like, share, and subscribe. Make sure you get the word out about these channels so more people will learn more about the Doctor Who, the classic era, all the good stuff. So I wish you all a good day. Bye.